You're not going to believe how much is changing inside Social Security right now, and this time, it's not hype. Real, official updates are happening that will affect every retiree, every disability recipient, and even surviving spouses who rely on monthly benefits. These aren't small tweaks or rumors, they're confirmed policy shifts and discussions happening right now inside Washington, and what's coming in 2026 could completely reshape how your payments work, how much you get, and when you receive it. So please stay with me until the end because what I'm about to explain could genuinely make a difference in your financial planning for the next year. Before we dive deeper, let me know in the comments, what's your age and what state are you in? I love to see who's planning smarter out there and how these changes might affect you personally. Now let's jump right in. First, let's talk about what's already official. As of September 30, 2025, the Social Security Administration has finalized its transition to full electronic payments. That means, for most beneficiaries, paper checks are no longer being mailed out. If you've been receiving your benefit as a physical check in your mailbox for years or even decades, this change affects you directly. Now, before anyone panics, here's the truth, this isn't a sudden surprise. The U.S. Treasury and SSA have been gradually moving in this direction for more than a decade, and 2025 marks the completion of that move. After that date, all new and existing beneficiaries are required to receive their monthly payments either through direct deposit to a bank account or through a government-approved prepaid card called Direct Express. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but I don't have a bank account, or I live in a rural area and the nearest branch is hours away, or maybe I rely on my caregiver or a family member to help me handle finances. If that sounds like you, don't worry, you're not being cut off. The SSA has confirmed that exceptions still exist for people who would experience real hardship due to this electronic transition. If you genuinely cannot access a bank or electronic system easily, or if managing digital deposits would put you at risk, you can call the Social Security Administration directly and request an exemption review. They'll look at your case individually. This part is important because a lot of misinformation has been spreading online, claiming that people who can't do direct deposit will lose their benefits. That is not true. The SSA has publicly stated that benefits will continue, but you must communicate your situation before the cutoff date to avoid delays. That being said, for everyone else, direct deposit is actually safer. No lost mail, no stolen checks, no weather delays. Once the payment is processed, it lands directly into your account, often earlier in the day than the old physical checks ever arrived. So while change can be uncomfortable, this one genuinely makes the system more secure. Now, let's talk about payment dates, because I know that's what everyone's waiting to hear. According to the SSA's current 2025 schedule, if your birthday falls between the 21st and 31st of any month, your Social Security payment for October will be deposited on Wednesday, October 22, 2025. This information is confirmed on the official SSA site and applies to retirement and disability payments alike. If your birthday falls earlier in the month, your payment arrives on the second or third Wednesday, depending on your date of birth. The important takeaway here: there are no interruptions or delays expected in October payments, even with all the policy chatter happening in Washington right now. So yes, your benefit is still on the way, right on schedule. But here's where things start to get interesting, and a little complicated. Every fall, the SSA releases what's called the Cost of Living Adjustment, or COLA, which determines how much your benefit increases to keep up with inflation. This update directly affects your 2026 payments. Now, if you've been following these updates for a while, you know the COLA is usually announced after the Bureau of Labor Statistics releases its September inflation data, which this year is scheduled for October 24, 2025. Whether or not there's a government shutdown or political gridlock, that announcement still happens. It's mandated by law. So, what can you expect? Right now, analysts are projecting two possible scenarios. Under the current system, Social Security calculates the COLA using something called the CPIW, or Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. It measures inflation based on what working-age Americans spend their money on: commuting costs, fuel, clothing, and work-related expenses. But here's the problem: retirees don't live like that. They're not commuting every day or buying new uniforms or work shoes. Their spending is dominated by health care, prescriptions, food, and housing. So the CPIW doesn't really reflect retirees' real-life inflation. That's why a growing number of lawmakers are now pushing for a switch to the CPIE, or Consumer Price Index for the elderly. This new index weighs essentials like medical care, housing, and groceries more heavily, exactly where older Americans are feeling the squeeze. According to the Senior Citizens League and several nonpartisan economists, if this formula were used instead of CPIW, retirees could see significantly higher benefit increases, in some cases, hundreds of dollars more per month compared to the standard adjustment. To be clear, this switch has not been officially adopted yet, but discussions are active and bipartisan. Both Republican and Democratic lawmakers have introduced bills supporting the CPIE approach, arguing that it's fairer and more realistic. For 2026, early projections from financial analysts and advocacy groups like AARP estimate that if the current CPIW formula stays in place, the COLA might land around 2.8%, roughly an extra $50 to $60 a month for the average retiree. But if the CPIE proposal were to take effect, that increase could jump by several $100s monthly, which would mean $3,000 to $6,000 more over the course of a year. Again, that larger number is not confirmed, it's a projection based on the inflation data seniors actually face. Still, the fact that this change is finally being discussed seriously is something we haven't seen in years, and that's why so many people in the retirement community are paying close attention. Before I go any further, if you're enjoying this content and you find it helpful, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps support my work and lets me keep bringing you clear, fact-checked updates on Social Security and retirement planning. Now, let's keep going. There's another important update that many people overlook until it causes a problem, and that's your bank information. Because paper checks are being phased out, your benefit now depends completely on the accuracy of your electronic payment setup. If you recently switched banks, closed an old account, or even changed your debit card, you need to log into your My Social Security account at ssa.gov and make sure your information is up to date. I can't stress this enough: if the SSA tries to deposit your benefit into an old or closed account, that payment will bounce back, and it can take weeks for the agency to reissue it. That delay can completely disrupt your budget. So even though it's a small administrative task, it's one of the most important things you can do right now to protect your income flow. Now, for those who receive Supplemental Security Income, SSI, there's a little quirk happening this year. You're going to receive 2 payments in October, but that doesn't mean a bonus or extra money. What's happening is a calendar adjustment. Because November 1st falls on a weekend, the SSA automatically sends the November payment at the end of October instead. That means when November rolls around, you won't see an SSI deposit that month. It's the same total amount, just shifted forward by a few days. So, plan your spending carefully. Don't get caught off guard in November thinking a payment was missed. You've already received it early. Now, let's look at how these changes affect different groups, because Social Security isn't a one-size-fits-all program. If you're a retiree, you'll see the COLA increase first in your January 2026 payment. That's when the new rate takes effect. You're also directly affected by the paper check phase-out, so if you're one of the few still getting a physical check, you need to transition now or call the SSA to request a hardship review. If you're on disability benefits, SSDI, your situation is nearly identical. You'll receive the COLA adjustment automatically and must ensure your payment information is current. Delayed deposits due to outdated bank details are the number one issue SSA field offices deal with, so take the initiative early. If you're on supplemental security income, you've already heard about the 2 October payments and the skipped November deposit. The COLA applies to you as well, meaning your SSI amount will also rise starting in January 2026, based on the official percentage announced in October. If you're a veteran who also receives Social Security benefits, remember that your VA payments are separate. They're handled by the Department of Veterans Affairs, and while the VA often mirrors SSA's COLA increase, it doesn't always happen simultaneously. Your SSA benefits will reflect the new rate in January, but your VA compensation follows its own calendar. So keep an eye on both schedules to avoid confusion when budgeting. For widows, widowers, and spouses receiving survivor or spousal benefits, you'll also see your payment rise automatically by the same COLA percentage. You don't have to file anything or make a new claim, it's built into the system. The SSA applies COLA adjustments across all benefit types at once. Here's another tip many people don't realize: small mistakes in your earnings record can lower your monthly benefit amount. If your employer misreported wages, or if you changed jobs and your new income wasn't properly posted, that missing income can drag down your lifetime average, and therefore, your benefit. You can fix it, but it's far easier to correct errors now than years later when you're already retired. Just log into your My Social Security account and review your annual earnings history. If you see a gap or an incorrect number, contact SSA with your W-2 or tax return to have it corrected. It might take a few weeks, but those extra dollars add up every single month for the rest of your life. Now, let's circle back to the potential CPIE formula change because this is where a lot of hope, and confusion, is centered. The idea of switching to CPIE isn't new. It's been proposed for more than a decade, but it's gaining traction in 2025 because inflation has hit older Americans especially hard. According to data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, seniors spend about 3 times more on healthcare compared to younger workers, and medical costs have risen faster than the overall inflation rate. The CPIE takes this into account, giving greater weight to those expenses. That's why advocacy groups like the Senior Citizens League and organizations like AARP are calling it the Fair COLA formula. If it passes, it won't just boost one year's increase, it resets the baseline for all future COLAs, meaning every subsequent raise would build on a larger number. In other words, it compounds year after year. But here's the catch: implementing CPIE requires congressional approval. It's not something the SSA can do on its own. The good news is that both sides of Congress have expressed interest, but the timing and budget implications are still being debated. So while I wouldn't plan your 2026 budget around a massive boost yet, it's absolutely worth watching because the political pressure to modernize this system is real and growing. Let's talk about what you can do this week to stay ahead. First, double-check your payment method. If you're not yet on direct deposit, call the SSA at 1-800-772-1213 between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Yes, you'll likely be on hold for a while, but it's worth it. Second, mark your calendar for Thursday, October 24, 2025, that's when the official COLA announcement is expected. Whether it's 2.8% or something higher under CPIE, that's the day we'll know. Third, check your earnings record online to ensure your income is accurately recorded. And finally, if you support a fairer COLA formula for seniors, let your voice be heard. Contact your representatives, sign petitions from advocacy groups, or even just comment, "I support a fair COLA for seniors," below this video. Lawmakers notice public sentiment more than you might think. Now, I know these details can feel overwhelming, especially when so much depends on decisions made far away in Washington. But remember, being informed is your best defense. Social Security is the backbone of retirement income for over 70 million Americans, and small actions like updating your bank info or budgeting around payment dates can protect you from a lot of unnecessary stress. It's also worth pointing out that even a modest COLA increase has a lasting impact. Because Social Security benefits are cumulative, every raise becomes part of your new base amount. That means next year's increase compounds on this year's, and so on. Over a decade, even a few percent more each year can add up to thousands of extra dollars. So staying informed about these updates is one of the easiest ways to protect your long-term financial stability. Let's zoom out for a second. Social Security isn't just a government check, it's peace of mind. For millions of retirees, it's the difference between paying for medication or skipping it, between heating the home or cutting corners. That's why it's so important that the system keeps up with reality, not outdated formulas. The move to direct deposit might feel like a hassle, but it's actually a modernization that makes benefits safer. And the growing conversation around CPIE shows that people in power are finally starting to listen to retirees' real-world struggles. So, here's my message to you: stay proactive. Don't wait for confusion or rumors to hit your news feed. Log into your SSA account once a month, read official updates, and fact-check anything that sounds too dramatic or too good to be true. There's a lot of misinformation online about Social Security cuts or benefit freezes, but as of right now, no such cuts are planned for 2026, and payments are continuing on schedule. The SSA has confirmed that funding remains stable and all obligations are being met. If this content has helped you understand what's really going on, if it cleared up confusion or gave you peace of mind, make sure you share it with a friend or family member who's also on benefits. Knowledge spreads security. And before you go, remember this: the more you know about how the system works, the more power you have to protect your future. So, if this content was useful to you, there are more videos like this one waiting for you at the end of this video, covering other Social Security updates, benefit tips, and retirement planning advice. Make sure to check them out. Thank you so much for watching, thank you for staying informed, and until next time, take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, and keep planning smarter, because knowledge really is your best investment.